Hello, hello. Welcome to Vendor Trading Day 7, the final day.
Whoa,
I'm Alexandra,
I'm Doré.
and we are the founders of Musical Theatre Market. I know my name, someone else is unsure. Today we are going to be looking at budgeting, pricing, and offers. So basically everything monetary-wise to do with going to a market.
So yeah, you want maximizing your profits. Some top tips. Was it
How to
worth
figure
it?
out, was it worth it?
And
Avoiding
avoiding
theft. Pretty important. So first is maximizing profit. The first thing to do with that is calculating your profit margin. So
So
how
general principles for for creating your selling price, knowing what to sell for. So I'm not an accountant, and this is not accountancy advice. This is just a rule of thumb. If you make a list of all your expenses or all your costs with relating to creating a product, and then whatever that costed, times it by 2.5. What that actually gives you then is approximately you'll end up with like 30% as the cost of producing your product. You'll have about 30% for reinvesting into your business, and the other 30% will be your profit margin. So, whatever it costs you to create that product times 2.5, that'll give you kind of the 30-30-30 split, give or take. That's a good rule of thumb to follow. But you might need to adjust that slightly depending on your product. And also do some research on Etsy and
look at similar people who sell similar products. See what the pricing
is. Yeah, so that you can adjust
ranges.
Yeah, so that you can adjust your pricing so that it doesn't matter really if you're more expensive. You just don't want to be so far
you
out
don't
of
want to be like crazy.
Yeah, where people just can't justify to themselves to buy the product.
Yeah.
And equally, you don't want to be so cheap that you're undervaluing what you do.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just taking into account the materials that you use to create your products, you're also taking into account the time and the talent. I mean, you've learned how to use all these skills, so don't sell yourself short.
Additional cost of vending at a market. So some of the things that people might not think about are things like the snacks. Not just for you, but if you're taking somebody with you, you're not just providing snacks and drinks and things for yourself, you're also doing it for the person that you're with.
Parking,
the cost of having business cards made.
Yes.
Those kind of additional branding type things. We don't always think about. It's always the little costs as well.
Yeah.
That add up that you don't realize. Yeah.
Exactly. And pricing your items at the market. So are you going to sell them for the exact same price you sell them on Etsy? Are you going to give a little discount because you're not doing postage?
People have different views on this. So some people will say keep it the same because they don't want people going onto the Etsy and then feeling that the difference is quite big, or that they could have gotten a better deal on.
Because some people
are weird
some
like
people price up their items to go to a market.
Yeah, so some people do that, and the way they justify this is because the cost of being at the market is so much more, and so they want to recoup the cost, and so they put up the price of their product. Some people feel that because they're not paying for postage and packaging, they can reduce the cost of their product. For us, what we've done, our product, we've just basically rounded down the cost of our product for the simple reason that people feel like they're getting a bit of a deal at the market, but it's not so different to our online price that you
feel cheated if you buy it somewhere else.
And also, it's just made it much easier because we take cash, so it makes it much easier
if
you're doing change.
We went from £11 to £10, and obviously £10 is easier for people to buy and for you to have change for than it is £11
or £11.70 or whatever it ends up being.
Exactly.
So these are there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever things you want to consider.
Do. But take a look at all the options, because your three options are you price up, but then like your customers may feel cheated if they go to the website and see that it's cheaper there. You keep the same price, or you bring the price down however much you want to. Those are the options, but look into them, see what's right for you.
People don't tend to, if your price is slightly less at the market, they don't tend to go to Etsy and go, oh darn, I feel like I've been
Yeah.
cheated. They actually feel like they got a bit of a deal and like you took care of them. But it doesn't have to be a big price difference at all.
Yeah.
Cover all price points.
Have something for everybody's budget. Some people can spend like £50 on something. That's what they've got in terms of spending money. Other people, it may be £20, 15, 10, 5. Some people, I mean, you've got kids, they've only got small amounts of pocket money. So can they get something from your stand? Try and get something, have something at each price point so that you can cover all these various different budgets.
If that's what your products allow.
Yes.
In our case, we don't really have that option as such. So an alternative thing that you can do is to offer bundles of things to give pricing deals. Yeah,
so people feel like they're getting like more for the same value. So if
more value for the money.
Yeah, that's what I meant. What?
More bang for their buck. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's another way of doing that if your product doesn't allow you to cover all these different pricing points, because at the same time you don't want to sell yourself short.
No. Then the other option is to have limited time offers, limited deals, special edition things that are only available at markets. We have, for example,
we have mystery bags, which we don't sell online, but we sell in person at events. It's basically just, what is it about your stand in person that's different to your stand online that would make people want to visit your stand in person? That would make them
on the day rather than delay that.
Exactly. So what is it that you offer on the day that you don't tend to offer normally? Make sure you have change.
Yeah, if you take cash, not everybody takes cash, but if you do take cash, make sure you have plenty of change. You definitely don't want to be running out of change when people are trying to buy from you.
Exactly. It's not helpful. You may lose out on the sale if you don't have enough change. And obviously you don't want to do that. And make your pricing obvious. People are not very likely to ask. So make sure it is clearly listed, probably more than one time. Whether it's on a big sign, whether it's right in the middle, whether it's on each product individually, just make sure it's clearly displayed in some way.
I'd say most people are more likely to walk past your stand if the pricing isn't clear than what they are to ask. Even extroverts don't necessarily like to ask about pricing. It's just one of those topics that are tough. So make it clear. It's the simplest thing that you can do to avoid losing sales.
Exactly. And stick to your prices. Don't let people haggle you down, or
it's not a car boot. Where at the end of the day, like, I just want to get rid of everything, so I'm just going to reduce the prices.
What you do is you undervalue your work and your products. And you may create the expectation of, at the next event they go to, I'll go to that. And at the end of the day, I'll go to them and see if I can get a good deal, rather than buying something throughout the day. And the thing is, they may forget and you may not get any sale at all. So don't.
It also devalues the event itself. It's not just about your stand and your product. You're also actually, causing damage to the people around you and the event itself.
Exactly.
So do stick to your prices.
Stick to your prices. I mean, you're worth it. You've put the time and the energy and the effort in. It's also, you don't want other people to go, they gave that person a deal, I want to see if I can get the same deal.
It's not that type of event.
Don't change the expectation for your customers.
Yeah. Apron cash box, pretty easy. It's just one of the things that we found works really well is if you carry the money on you rather than having a separate cash box that you have to try and keep hold of. Yeah. I don't know, track of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially if there's more than one of you on the stand and you don't know who had the cash box last.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of lose it that way. Whereas if you know this person is the one with the apron, or if two of you have money aprons or whatever, it's just easier to manage and keep track of.
Exactly. And payment methods. Now, you can do cash, you can do card, you can do both. You can also have different payment options. I know there are a whole bunch of things that exist now which I couldn't even think of on the spot. You're more likely to increase your sales if you have more than one payment option. So if
research them, make sure,
see what works for you,
and test if you have if you take electronic payments of some description, make sure you test them beforehand.
Test the Wi-Fi when you get there too.
Yeah.
See if you need to purchase extra Wi-Fi or whether you'll be fine on the day. And also make sure beforehand, when you're promoting yourself, you tell your customers how you're going to be taking payments so that they can prepare. The worst thing is when you go somewhere and you're there with your card and suddenly it's cash only.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, or
More
the other way
likely
around.
these days.
Exactly. And it can just be really inconvenient. And then people may go, oh, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah.
So have some pricing options, and whatever works for you, tell people this is what I'm going to be doing. Was it worth it?
So after the event,
how do you figure it out?
Yeah. So we spoke about the mindset earlier, that it's not just about the money, but obviously the money is also important. So you can't just go, oh, it's just about making buddies and, you know, it doesn't matter about making profit. Now, again, you might not make profit the first time around, because if it's your first time that you're vending, you probably had some extra costs in terms of your stand and setup.
That you wouldn't have the next time.
Exactly. These all get offset, you know, as you do more events. So calculate your profit and loss. What do you need to make? How much money do you need to bring in to at least break even? At what point are you breaking even? At what point are you making a profit or a loss? And you can then look at that in the cold light of day and go, was this event worth it? Do I do it again? Maybe I made a little bit of a loss, but actually, if I hadn't had these extra expenses for the stand setup,
if I hadn't
would I
had
have
to
made
buy
a profit?
A tablecloth, if I hadn't had to buy display items, then I would have made a profit. So next time, because I don't have to buy those things, I would make a profit.
Exactly, in which case it's worth it. But if there was no interest at all and you did not make money at all, and you're not making money, then maybe there's some other considerations in terms of, you know, adjusting the products and things like that. But don't take it at face value. Yeah. And don't just keep things in your head and go, okay, in my head I made money or I didn't. Actually use Excel, use whatever you need to do to create a spreadsheet and use an actual facts-based profit and loss.
Sometimes you don't realize, oh, I have actually made a profit until you go and you check the numbers. So do that.
And then the final thing is check your stock sheets when you get home and compare them to the stock, to your actual stock, to make sure that you have actually sold each and every item, that something didn't get nicked in the meantime or whatever.
Yeah, make sure that the numbers match.
That the numbers match. Or you might have just not marked something down.
But you've still got the payment for it. So it's just making sure you know where you're at, what's happened.
Yeah, that things tally up. That'll also inform with the next event as to whether you need to increase stock on a certain item and maybe take less of a different item.
Absolutely.
So the more information you have, the better decisions you can make.
Indeed. Avoiding theft. This is a very big one, and there are stuff that you can do to avoid theft.
Yeah.
For example, having someone else on the stand with you, having an extra pair of eyes. If you need to dart under the table and grab some more stock and you don't have anyone else with you, that's a chance someone could be nicking something. It is pretty uncommon, but why take the risk? So have someone else on the stand with you. That's a very easy way to
minimize the risk.
Minimize the risk.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it's not something we've ever had to deal with.
No.
But I do think it's partly also because we've applied these things straight up
from the beginning.
So it doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
It does happen.
What's more likely to happen is that somebody picks an item up and then
forgets to pay for it.
They're looking at other things and they forget that they've picked it up, or they forget that they haven't paid for it. And then you can just like, oh, hello. That's more likely to happen, and that's not somebody stealing your stuff.
No.
That's genuinely just...
But at the end of the day, you want all the stuff that leaves your stand to have been paid for.
Exactly.
So anything you can do to avoid...
To avoid...
losing stock.
To avoid losing money, everything, always.
Exactly. So have someone else on the stand with you. And like we said, the apron cash box, another reason it's possibly better than a money tin is because it's on you.
Yeah. People can't just walk away with it.
Exactly.
Especially if you've got more than one person on the stand. You might not realize that somebody's walked away with it for a while because you just assume that one of your other teammates
watching it.
Yeah. or that they're using it or whatever, and it might be a while before you realize that it's gone AWOL.
Oh, just back to having someone else on the stand with you. Communicate.
Oh yeah.
There's no point if you're not communicating. And put easy to steal items close to you. So easy to steal items would be things that are fairly small, things that are easy to just sort of take. You're not going to notice it. Maybe it's a small piece of jewelry, maybe it's a little pin, maybe it's a sticker. Those types of things, put them closer to you, and put the bigger things that are more difficult to steal on the outside of your stand where you can't see them quite as easily, where you can't just reach down and grab them.
Also, it's the other thing you sometimes have is kids come past.
Yes.
And they don't realize that they have to pay for it. And so those kind of little things that attract kids, like stickers and key rings and pens and things like that, bookmarks, they do just pick up and
Exactly.
go, because they don't necessarily twig that they have to pay for
Yeah.
it. Which, just coming back to the communication, so what kind of things to communicate? So one of the things that we often have is that, somebody will hand me a bunch of stuff that they want to buy. Now, we do mark everything off our stock sheets. And so I'm just like, have you got this? I'll take the payment, you mark off the stock sheet.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of, it's very much transactional communication.
And be a team. You don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to do it as two separate people. Come together and do that. Like, okay, I'm handling the transaction. Are you going to handle the stock keeping of this transaction?
Because you're trying to be as efficient as you can and get people through the stand as quickly as you can once they've made their buying decision.
Yeah.
Because chances are you have somebody else waiting, and you don't want people, it's okay that people wait, but you don't want to leave them waiting so long that they lose interest.
Yeah. And then jumping back to where we came from, we're going to go back to make sure you can see all of your stand at all times. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. You want to have eyes at the back of your head.
Yeah. And if you've noticed somebody stealing something, somebody nicking something, don't confront them. Unless it's like, oh, sorry, you haven't paid for that. Do you mind?
Yeah, if it's not malicious.
Yeah, if you can do that without causing a problem. But if you see that somebody is causing hassles, be vigilant. Let the organizers know, so that they can warn other vendors. They might not be able to do much about it other than warning other vendors to be vigilant.
But the knowledge is very, very important, because, like I said, we can tell other organizers and they can hopefully keep an eye out. So if there is something they can do it. I think that's everything on this one.
I think that's...
Oh my goodness!
We're done.
Look at that. So now you are an expert on vending at craft fairs and events. Hopefully there's all sorts of information you might not have necessarily thought about. If you've got any questions, you can feel free to reach out. Like we said, one of the very first days, if you've got a setup that you want us to look over, just send it through and we're happy to give our opinion on it. But if you are coming to Musical Theatre Market, we very much look forward to having you. And if you are watching this to gather some information for another show or another event, we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much for sticking with us.
Yeah, that's all for now.
Take care. Bye.